listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we are here to talk about the kind of closing stages of the T20 World Cup. First group stage. More great cricket has been delivered. I think there's been more great cricket in the opening week and a half of this World Cup than maybe all of the other T20 World Cups combined. That might be an exaggeration, but that's the vibe I'm getting. Big story, of course, is that the Aussies are out. We'll be covering that. But we'll also be going through each of the groups to talk about which teams have made it through to the second round. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe-Brown for this bonanza of a discussion. How you doing, Max?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, it's been good, hasn't it? It's been surprisingly good for almost all aspects of the competition as well, apart from one minor scheduling hiccup, Jack, that we discovered earlier, which is that there is one game on Friday and it's Australia v Oman.
Yeah, look, what I'd say, scheduling-wise, I think lots of credit should be rightly given to the organiser of this competition for how it has gone so far. We will see how the one game a day, drag it out section, bolt on group stage plays over the next couple of weeks. Maybe that won't be as good, but up to this point, it's been good. So we're going to go, Max, we're going to go full positive vibes for this episode. Before we do, just a reminder to people to click like and subscribe wherever they listen to or watch the Cricket Podcast. Tell your friends, every little helps, etc., etc. We'll also, of course, be talking about India v Netherlands for people who are tuning into this straight after the game, or like India. And I imagine we'll have a little bit of time to talk about the pros and cons of the England cricket team as well. Max, let's start though. I said we were going to sort of talk about the people who have qualified. I think we should probably start with the big story, which is the team that has gone out. Australia, on the receiving end of a pretty exceptional Pat Nissanka century. Probably my early shout for moment of the World Cup was his ton, the crowd, people crying, Australians going home. And then the kind of double whammy of that, and then the rain off the next day, which gave Zimbabwe the points they needed, means the Aussies go home.
Now, have I crashed or has Jack crashed? Welcome back.
Welcome back. Don't know what happened there. Max, actually, just before I came on air, that the whole operating system on this laptop crashed. I hadn't used it for a few days. I was away with work in Rotterdam, so it's been left on sleep mode, which is probably not the optimal condition to leave a laptop. Opened it at 2 minutes to podcast time, and it was all frozen. It just crashed again. So fingers crossed, back for the rest of it. Australia, Max, they are out from there. What happened?
Yes, Australia. So Australia against Sri Lanka. It was a must-win game for Australia, obviously, after they fell to the mighty Zimbabweans. And they got off to a pretty good start because Mitch Marsh was back at the helm, captaining and leading the side from the front. And he and Travis Head got Australia off to a blinding start. They shared 104 for the opening partnership in just 8.5 overs, and it looks like the Australian machine was back up and running. The two of them casting Sri Lankan bowlers all to sunder. Alongside that, Mahesh Patirana went down after just 4 balls with a calf injury that's ruled him out of the World Cup as well. It all looked like it was coming up Australia, but credits to Sri Lanka because they fought back. Firstly, through Dushan Hemanta, who took the 2 wickets of the openers. And then, it was shared around, to be honest. They did an excellent job, Sri Lanka, of fighting back. The middle order of Australia failed once again. They fairly fairly harshly discarded Matt Renshaw as Mitchell Marsh came back into the side. Matt Renshaw, the only guy who'd actually scored runs in both of their 2 games. And maybe Australia were left wondering what if they'd had him to build on the platform that they had set, because aside from Josh Inglis and Glenn Maxwell, no one else reached double figures, and Australia was skittled for 181, which seemed very disappointing from where they had started. So over to Sri Lanka. Could they chase it down? Boy, could they. Stoinis got an early wicket of Kusal Pereira, but that just brought Kusal Mendes to the crease. And we mentioned before the tournament, Jack, that Sri Lanka's batting is it's do or die with Nissanka and Mendes. To be honest, that might be a little harsh on Rathnayaka, who contributed 28 or 15 to really put a gloss on things, and who has had a decent start to the tournament as well. But it was all about Pathan Nissanka. 52 balls for his century. An incredible innings. He took down everyone. Australia changed things up. They used their full gamut. Adam Zampa did nothing. He went for 41 of his 4 overs, and it was an absolute schooling. Sri Lanka were incredible. They were very impressive, and they flattened Australia. And Australia are out because they were hoping for antics from Ireland to save them against Zimbabwe, and all they got was antics from the weather just to make doubly sure that the Aussies are going home. So huge win for Sri Lanka. Massive credit to them. Massive credit to Nissanka. And see you later, Aussies.
I'm not sure how far I got before I cut out earlier, but I was saying that I think this Nissanka century might be the most memorable moment.
I think that was the last thing I heard you say.
Yeah. Like it was genuinely awesome. Full house, going bananas.
The noise in the crowd was incredible. The atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. Big credit to the Sri Lankan fans in Pallekele as well for bringing the noise.
Send home the Australians. It's a big team to knock out. I think this was a really, really excellent Sri Lankan performance. I know a lot of the headlines will be about Australia, and I've seen Matt Hayden already got a dig in against England about how bad Australia were.
Australia were bad because they're like England.
And there'll be loads of discourse about it. And to be honest, there'll be a bunch of Australians as well who do not care. Because it's being played mainly in the middle of the night. And
it's only on Amazon Prime in Australia. You can barely even see it. Australia Oman's being broadcast at midnight on Friday. The cut through in Australia feels like it's not quite there.
So I think this won't really is all about how we should remember that. However, we are English, acknowledging that this is a great Sri Lankan victory. Or after acknowledging this is a great Sri Lankan victory, we will immediately move on to laughing at Australia. Max, worst Australian team ever to play cricket? ?
Before I answer that, Jack, I'm getting some strange noises coming from your end, and it's quite difficult to hear you. So I don't know if you need to unplug something and plug something back in, but or whether it's a presage of your laptop about to explode again. But Australia, worst team ever. Yeah, why not? I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at this bowling lineup, and I went through it with Ross the other day. It doesn't strike any fear into me as a non-professional cricketer, so I can't imagine it strikes much fear into the people that they're bowling at either. And I think that's just what happens when you get into a scenario where Mitchell Starc has retired from T20s, Josh Hazlewood is injured, and Pat Cummins is injured. They're your 3 guys. They've been your 3 guys for 10 years plus, and they're not there anymore. I would question maybe some of the selections, but it's not a high quality Australian bowling side. I think the batting should be good enough. Any side that's opening up with Mitch Marsh and Travis Head in T20 cricket, with the likes of Inglis and Tim David and Stoinis around, should be good enough. Glenn Maxwell is not Glenn Maxwell that he used to be, but I think the batting side it should still be able to do the job. I think it is probably one of the most underwhelming bowling sides I've seen in an Australia team, possibly ever. That would be fair, I think.
I think look, obviously Zampa's up to the task, and like Nathan Ellis, like some of the other bowlers they've selected, it's odd. I think the selection all round is odd. Marcus Stoyne is almost in there as a frontline bowler, which it's not. I mean, he isn't in there as a frontline bowler, but they're using him like he is a frontline bowler. Bowled 4 overs in this game. Strange, really strange. I also think their batting order is
weird,
peculiar. Yeah. Really peculiar. Why Tim David is batting number 4, I don't know. Why Stoinis is so far down the order. I mean, like you would think that you could at least flip those 2 round or move Inglis up. I mean, like you say, the players are kind of, you think they're kind of there, but not in that particular order, and probably not in that form as well. Also, IPL watch. It was the last time we see him play until then. Cameron Green not had a good time of it since he got purchased for loads of bunts. Had a pretty poor Ashes and had a very, very dismal, I would say, T20 World Cup. So we'll keep an eye on that. It does feel like a bit of a changing of the guard moment from an Australian perspective. I do wonder whether they'll actually take any action though. I mean, like if you look at the history of the T20 World Cup, Australia have generally treated it as something that you sort of turn up to and then see what happens. Yeah. Like there are other teams that seem to care about it a lot more. For some nations, you'd maybe even say it was the primary format they want to do well in at this point, T20. For Australia, it like this team, yeah, I mean, it might as well be called Afterthought 11. Like it's
it's the chairman's 11.
it's just
T20
like
World Cup.
Who fancies? All right,
who's free? Who's free
all
for
the pro cricketers in Australia? Yeah, like, does anyone want? Like, I know you could all go on holiday, or like, yeah, do you want to play in the last round of Sheffield Shield fixtures, or do you fancy going out to Sri Lanka? You want to stay in Sydney? No problem. Like, it's got that kind of, it's got that kind of vibe to it a little bit. I doubt, to be honest, I doubt they'll take any learning from it. And I'm sure that the next time Australia turn up at a T20 World Cup, they'll do a little bit better than this. But yeah, their cards couldn't be more on the table in terms of what they think about the tournament as a whole. I reckon. Great news, Max. Just to cap off the group. I think it's great news for the tournament that a big team fell. We said that there was probably going to be, or there might be a bit of a lack of jeopardy across the groups, and so I think Australia going out, or any of the big teams going out, to be honest, is good. It'll be nice to see Zimbabwe give it a go in the Super 8s. I think it might be quite difficult for them, but they beat Australia, so who knows? And they've got another game against Sri Lanka, so they could end up topping the group. And also great, I think, for host nations to go through in these tournaments.
Yes,
Sri Lanka, obviously, as assistants to the hosts. Not co-hosts, it's just assistants to the hosts.
Assistants to the regional hosts.
Going through, I think, is good for the tournament as well. And I think you'd probably say in Group B, Max, unless you want to disagree here, that comfortably the best 2 teams in terms of the cricket we've seen have qualified.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that. I think the other thing that is amusing and probably worth noting would be the fact that Steve Smith was carted in last minute as the ultimate replacement for Josh Hazlewood, just in time to turn up, do a bit of fielding, watch the Aussies get knocked out. Maybe he'll get a go against Oman on Friday, but that is amusing. So a nice holiday for Steve Smith for a few days. And but yeah, no, I think Zimbabwe was super impressive against Australia. I think it's a shame that we didn't get to see them against Ireland, because I want to see sort of more of them. We've seen them against Oman, and we've seen them against Australia. Ireland, in theory, a team that they should be quite close to, as like the lesser test nations, so to speak. So I think that would have been a good game. Shame we didn't get to see that, but yeah, Sri Lanka will be a good litmus test. Yeah, the cricket that we've seen from them so far, very good. Looking forward to seeing them get a chance. And I think one big team getting knocked out is the right number, because you don't want them all to go, do you? We do still have to get a lot more cricket.
You don't want like one, right? So I think that there is a dynamic with this World Cup that is wrong. In the second round is preordained based on some sort of algorithm.
It's ridiculous. There's no other sport in the world that would or does do this. Like it's just dumb.
So we are going to have a situation, and I believe this is more or less confirmed, where all of the top teams go into one pot and all of the second place teams go into another pot. If you lost too many good teams,
Depending on the Sri Lanka Zimbabwe game.
That's literally it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's strange, and because of that dynamic, you could, if too many good teams go out, end up with a little bit of a foregone conclusion in the second round, which is probably a format weakness more than anything. Like the cricket should go to knockout cricket from this point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it is we're gonna have another group stage. Look, Max, we'll take a little break after talking about Australia and my irritating tech issues. Then we'll come back. We'll go to Group A next. Then we'll do C, and I guess we'll finish off with Group D.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, where we're talking about the group stage of the T20 World Cup. We've talked about the Australians crashing out, and we didn't laugh too much, I don't think. I mean, we could have probably dragged that out for a little bit longer.
Well, we'll be next.
Yeah.
So,
they'll be good. It's too soon after the Ashes for it to be really hilarious. Like, it's just sort of odd at this point.
Yeah.
Like we need more of an idea for it to become properly funny. Group A, though, is where we will be heading next after I tell you all to click like and subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. We had a couple of Group A games today to finish off all the fixtures in that. India beating the Netherlands. Netherlands gave it a little bit of a go, to be fair. To be fair to the Dutch, fell only 17 runs short in the end. Kept India below 200. A pretty solid effort, and actually, I think Netherlands will probably look back on this World Cup and think that they have a very good shout to being the second best team in the group they were in and blew it. We also saw Pakistan hammer Namibia. Namibia didn't really show up for this World Cup, I think it's fair to say. Pakistan, I don't want to say going from strength to strength because they're not. But they were better. They were better than they have been.
They're trending upwards.
Trending upwards, yeah. Where do you want to go first in Group A? Pakistan and India go through. Netherlands go out. They're probably the main stories. Talk to me.
Yeah, I think for the Netherlands, it's definitely missed opportunities is the overriding feeling for me. Not today, of course. You'd never expect them to take down India, but they did do themselves a lot of credit by not necessarily running India close, but being competitive for sure. Shivam Dubé's 66 off 31 was pretty much the standout. Right, everyone else they kept reasonably quiet, and without that innings, maybe they would have had a sniff, even with Jasprit Bumrah and Chakravarti doing what they did. So yeah, credit to them. But it's that Pakistan game, isn't it? The first one of the tournament where that drop of in the last 3 overs to go. Ultimately the moment that they will look back on with the most regret, I suspect, because they win that game and they're in a great position. Because Pakistan they'll be licking their wounds. Maybe they then go and fall to the USA or someone else. Maybe the Netherlands take that strength and go and knock over the US. But yeah, they competed, and I think they would have missed out. Bit weird to say that, bearing in mind they're going to end the group second bottom with the US having won 2 games. But I sort of feel for the Netherlands a bit, and I've been really impressed by the USA as well. I think there's something about the exposure to elite players that you've got with the Major League 20, which I think I mentioned last time when I spoke to Ross, that it's given them a bit of exposure, but belief about the way they can go about their cricket. Because it is kind of the batting side that I've been most surprised by, like the 6 hitting ability and the kind of taking the game to the opposition that we've seen from the USA in this competition. I didn't see it coming. So good on them, really, for that. They were much more competitive than I thought, and I think Pakistan can count themselves a little lucky to be making it through. They've not offered much.
I actually completely missed, and I think I can claim holiday credit for all this. I completely missed the USA absolutely demolishing the Netherlands. So maybe it's the USA that should feel like it's an opportunity missed. Either way, obviously Pakistan get through, and who knows with Pakistan, to be honest. So, like they have got some decent bowling, and if they get the right conditions, perhaps they can make a little run at a semi-final. I think they've been pretty bad in this World Cup, though. I don't think it's a very good team. I think it's quite a confused team. I think they've got at least one legacy player in there, in Babar Azam, who
by right shouldn't be anywhere near a T20 team, and is based on like 5 years of form.
Yeah, but shouldn't be near like any of the T20 teams. Like, there's quite a few of smaller teams or associate nations who would look at his numbers and be like, "Do we really need that? Isn't there someone better than him that we could pick?" But Pakistan, they don't seem to want to know. I don't want to write them off because
dangerous.
It's exactly the sort of thing. Yeah, it's exactly. I don't want to write off any of the 8 teams, to be honest. Like, you only need to win 2 matches. It's T20 cricket. 2 matches and you get through to the semi-final, and every single team is capable of winning or losing 2 matches. Even India. Well, I think it's less likely with India. But it is possible in like the group of death that India lose to South Africa and Sri Lanka. Like, that is on the table. Even West Indies, So I don't want to write off Pakistan, but I don't really want to watch them play cricket either, to be honest.
I think for all of the teams that we've seen that have like put on some pretty good displays, and that includes teams like Italy, Canada, Nepal, Zimbabwe. Obviously, the Pakistan have done the least of that, I think, out of anyone, bar maybe Oman and Namibia. Like, yeah. And that's not a good group to be in, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Look, if you're a Pakistan fan listening to this, I don't know what you two
I'm sorry,
by the way. Yeah, I don't know what you and Ross go through on Sunday. I've been looking at our YouTube comments. Obviously, something went down.
We talked about handshakes, obviously. And everyone needs to grow up. That went down well.
So, bigger picture. Like, I understand that for Pakistan, this is not an easy World Cup to play it. And I understand as well that maybe they don't have the playing resources at the moment to put out like a Class A team. But there seems to be a deficit of understanding about how you play T20 cricket.
They've got
it's not even
right.
Yeah, it's not even like, to be honest, it's not even like they're just a little bit behind the times. It's like they actually don't know the general premises, like what makes a good T20 team. Like, I could forgive them if they were still trying to do sort of Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, get 160, Shaheen Afridi will knock a couple of people over early. And then
it's outdated, but it's a tactic.
Yeah, but they don't even have a tactic. It's like, well, maybe the guy who stops halfway through his bowling motion will take 8 wickets. Like, is that the tactic? Like, it's quite nice. If you're going to watch Pakistan, that's the bit to watch. His 4 overs, they're weird. They're interesting.
It don't really work.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, it is weird that is the case, because Pakistan, they've got the Pakistani Super League. They get people, or at least, less so now, given the timings of it. But in the not too distant past, they get quite a lot of people over from like English county cricket plying their trade there. Like, Will Jacks has spent loads of time in the PSL, and like there's some good cricket that goes on in there. It's not a bad quality league, right? And to not be making any use of that feels very odd. Maybe it's just because the results of the PSL make you think that the way to win T20 cricket is to win the toss and bowl first. That's basically the law, isn't it? Is that still the case in the Pakistani Super League? I remember a couple of years ago we looked at it. It was like 18 out of the 19 first games had been won by the team chasing. It was just a bit silly.
I think it's quite venue dependent. There's one venue, isn't there? It might have been the PSL before last, where like the average score was 240 or something like that. They obviously didn't learn anything from the games played there. They weren't like that's a good thing to do. No, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah. But you should know better about your stock of talent from a competition like that to be able to put out a proper T20 side and not just, like you say, Babar Azam. The ghost of Babar Azam has passed at this point.
Look, that's Group B. India are good.
Shock.
Should mention that again. They probably, I mean, to be fair to India, we should give them 30 seconds. They've cruised through this group, won every game pretty comfortably, and I would say have played miles from their best. Like,
that is the concerning thing, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of games where someone has come off. Sky rescued them against the USA. Everyone else is pretty bad. Abhishek Sharma's got done nothing so far. So you can bet your bottom dollar that first game of the Super 8s, he's going to score 120 or 40 or something insane. Yeah, there's a lot more to come from India, and that should be quite scary for everyone.
I think it. I think it will be. They were there. I said that. I think I got one of the groupings confused and said Sri Lanka and India's group. They're not. Zimbabwe are in that group. That's confirmed. So there's probably only 2 teams that they can lose to there, but they'll have to play decent cricket, I think, to beat both West Indies and South Africa. They should have enough in the tank to do that. But if they play like they did against USA, or even in phases like they did today against the Netherlands, those games could be a little bit more of a scrap than they want them to be. And I imagine they'll be talking about that in their team meetings. Should we move on to Group C? We've done Group B. We kind of did it slightly out of order because of Australia crashing out. Still 1 game to be played in this, but the final positions are pretty much set unless Italy win by like 300 runs against West Indies, which seems unlikely.
Which will mean England win the group, which will have how many consequences for the next phase of the tournament, Jack?
So West Indies, max, 3 games, 3 wins, have been pretty professional. England, they do qualify. Their last game was on Monday, and at points in that game on Monday,
I think
it was
England
a bit closer than they wanted it to be.
England do qualify is about the nicest thing you can say about how England have performed at this World Cup so far. They did make it through, so it could have been worse. But yeah, that game against Italy was great fun. They were bailed out by Will Jacks again with the bat, quick fire 50 at the back end of the innings that just got them to a point that was ultimately out of reach for the Italians, if you can indeed call them Italians. But despite losing early wickets, Italy, you thought that with the 3 that they lost, Mosca, Smuts, and Menendez, you thought that it was unlikely that they were going to be able to carry enough firepower through to overhaul England's total over 200. It seemed unlikely, but they really threatened. Ben Menendez and Grant Stewart. I mean, they got to a point where it was looking a bit dicey. I mean, we were thinking about lumping some money on Italy at one stage. That was where we were getting to, and I mean, once those 2 fell, they were never gonna get there. They didn't have enough. From 7 onwards, which is always, the case really with teams like this. But the fact that they even got that close should probably cause a little bit of concern for England. Adil Rashid was expensive again. That's another area that England will be a bit worried about because he's been so dependable for them in white ball cricket over the last 10 years plus, really. So I mean, you just got to say, like, well played, Italy, great effort. I was backing them. I wanted them to do it by this point. I was like, I wanted Italy to win. halfway through this game, or like halfway through that innings. It felt right, but England
It would have been very funny.
They did make it home.
Yeah.
So much closer than it should have been.
At that Menenti innings, I completely came out of the blue. This is a guy who's played quite a lot. He's played 42 BBL games. Not as a batter. Batted 19 times. Been out 13 of the times he's batted for a total of 120 runs off 127 balls. That's an average of 9.23, strike rate of 94. In that time, he hit 3 sixes. In his first 14 balls, he'd hit more sixes than he had in his entire BBL career. He finished on 60 out of 25 deliveries. It couldn't, it's a complete bolt from the blue type of innings. And it's kind of what you want to see as well.
He's been underused in the BBL, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he will certainly argue that. I mean, he's been sort of a fine bowler over the years in the BBL. He's done his job. He's not, I don't think you'd say exceptional, but has been
economical.
Fine. Yeah. Absolute bananas innings. And if he lasted literally 10 more balls, then England would have been like, oh my God, what the hell's going to happen here? It would have been another Nepal game. As it is, Italy kind of did run out of power after that point. Although they still had that flash later, didn't they? When Grant Stewart took out the sheet to the cleaners. So it wasn't, even after Menenti was out, there was still a moment where England were like, uh-oh, here we are. But they go through. They're not in we were talking about India just a second ago, like how India probably want to play a little bit better than they are. India are playing good cricket. England are playing pretty so-so cricket, I would say, and need to go up sort of 20%, especially in the fielding side. I think the batting has kind of been all right. It's not been like 300 runs, we're piling it on, we're breaking records, all right. But they basically batted Italy out of this game by scoring 200 runs in the end.
And then just bowled them back into it.
Yeah, they tried their best to bowl them back into it, but they scored so many runs that they could have multiple moments where it all went wrong and it was all right. And the same can be said.
That is kind of England's
to some extent,
isn't it? It's how they go.
Being Nepal. Yeah, it is. I don't think it's like...
it's not a great
they
basically
played. Yeah, they basically played one good team and lost to them fairly handily, even though they were in quite a good position after their openers sort of teed off in the power play. So there's big questions about England. They will go through, and they're in the group with New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So they've got a decent chance, I think. They're probably the best team in their group, I would say. But there are weaknesses that can be exploited for sure. Anything else on Group C? You said some nice things about the teams that have gone out in Group A. Anything for Scotland, Italy, or Nepal? Nepal won. You should say that. Nepal won their game, and that was good. That was a good World Cup moment. Yeah.
That was Dipendra Singh Airi, our boy, wasn't he? The guy that we highlighted as their star man, not called Lamachane. He brought them back from the brink to a degree against Scotland to get them over the line, which means that 17 of the 20 teams in this World Cup have won a game, which is really good. Like for the competitiveness of the competition, that is great. It is quite funny that Nepal, after nearly beating England, said everyone should come and tour us, look at us, and then got absolutely spanked by Italy. I think all of the teams in this group have the associate teams, that is, have done themselves a good credit, a good service. I think Nepal, obviously, starting off nearly taking England down was a great effort from them, and they were just very unfortunate not to get over the line. Italy, I think, must have surprised everyone in how they performed. They've come out with belief. They took down Nepal. They got fairly heavily smashed against Scotland, but they gave it a real good go against England. And Scotland have had their moments as well. They obviously dispatched Italy easily. They were on top against Nepal for a good period, and they had their moments against England as well. It's been good from all of them. And they played. The other thing is, like, they've all played good cricket. They've not shied away. They've come out all guns blazing, and fair play to them all. Very impressive.
Yeah. I think it probably makes a little bit of a difference playing these games on decent cricket wickets as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does bear mentioning.
I think the harder you make it to bat, especially batting, the more being really good at batting, world class at batting, differentiates you from some of the other teams. I think these wickets have been scoreable on for a wider group of players than I'd expect, maybe, or you'd expect, maybe. Well, not maybe expect, but like they've been a bit more. They've been gamey. They've been fun wickets. I've enjoyed it. So credit where that's due as well. Which brings us, Max, finally to Group D. South Africa and New Zealand will go through from this disappointing campaign for Afghanistan, UAE and Canada, bottom of the group. Canada likely to probably lose every game. They've got one more match against Afghanistan to play. I do want to start with Canada, though, Max.
Yes.
In this group. And I want to start with Yuvraj Samra, who scored 110 or 65 for New Zealand. Probably the innings of the World Cup from a non-major nation. That is great stuff. In the batting lineup as well, by the way. Like the next best score was 36 of 39. Which is fine, like if you're Canada. Next best score after that was 10 of 7. Like nobody else did anything. This guy has gone ballistic. Helped his team to post a decent score. Canada, like they actually took a couple of early-ish wickets as well and put a bit of pressure on the Kiwis. Ultimately, the gulf between the two was so big that New Zealand were able to come back and cruise comfortably to victory. But I think in terms of like individual stories, that Yuvraj Samra's innings is cracking. I think it'll be one we would do well to remember for a little while. He's a young guy who is, Max,
19.
actually Canadian. Actually a Canadian.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything, like obviously to put a competitive team on the field, and lots of nations in cricket borrow or steal players from other places. And if you're an England fan, you've not really got a leg to stand on when it comes to saying like. But
there's quite a few in this team already.
Yeah,
we borrowed half of the Caribbean, and we with the England lineup.
I think. Well, yeah, actually, I mean, like
Bethel
Phil Salt,
and
Jofra Archer,
yeah,
Bethel. Yuvraj Samra, his parents moved from India before he was born, I think, and he grew up in Canada playing domestic Canadian cricket. To go from that to getting a ton in a World Cup game
against New Zealand,
an A-list nation. Yeah. That's an incredible journey at a really young age. And I hope that we see quite a lot more of him, whether that's for Canada or for other teams in franchise leagues around the world. I'm sure that in some of the less regulated comps out there, people have already got an eye on him. I imagine his T20 contract is in the post. Good stuff, though. I haven't really got much more to say about the Canadians. They've been pretty bad apart from that, but definitely worth highlighting. Max, the other two stories, South Africa being good, New Zealand being New Zealand, and Afghanistan kind of blowing up and going home. Where do you want to start with them?
Well, I think you can't look past Afghanistan and what happened with the Super Overs, can you? That's the story of this group. They had multiple chances in the space of about half an hour to get themselves a huge win on the board and give themselves a really good chance of qualifying from this group, and they blew it big time. It was a crazy game. I'm glad we got to witness it because it was phenomenal. But I mean that wasn't good. And going off the back of that into the next one and getting fairly soundly beaten by New Zealand, and then that was curtains. It was a shame. It's a shame that I think the peril of this group ended so quickly, and that all of those games happened when they did. It might have been nice, to have one of the big games happening right at the end, just to keep a little bit of peril back for the latter stages of the first group round of the World Cup. But yeah, Afghanistan will, I think, be feeling fairly regretful of that, letting that game slip away from them, because that would have been big for this group. But as it is, South Africa have been very impressive. They took down New Zealand without any trouble. They held their nerve against Afghanistan, and won from some fairly improbable positions in those super overs, and were very clinical against the others. We were sort of wondering about how the South Africa side was going to fit together, whether a bit light on the spin side, a bit overly reliant on Maharaj, and whether the batting was powerful enough. But they've looked good. They've looked really solid all the way through. So they'll be maybe the team to beat that isn't called India in this tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. They were obviously the finalists in 2024. A couple of guys moved on. We were a little bit dubious about them. They've proven us wrong so far, and rightfully through to the next round, where I think things will get a little bit more interesting for them. We're not, obviously, in terms of show scheduling, frankly, there's no point us doing an episode on Friday to review Australia v Oman.
Unless Australia lose.
The other actually irrelevant matches at this point, which is so we're not going to do that. We'll be talking again probably on Sunday. In the interim, for Sunday, the Super 8 stage, which is the second group. I don't know, stupid names in cricket, aren't they? Super 8s. The Super 8 stage will kick off with New Zealand, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, England, and India v South Africa, which is a banging lineup of matches, I would say, Max. Like that, a lot of theories are going to be tested there. The rubber will meet the road. Are Pakistan really bad? Did England beat Sri Lanka in some meaningless bilaterals, but are actually crap when it comes to tournament cricket? And are South Africa as good as they appear to be right now? Any of those games really take your fancy before we wrap up the show?
I think Sunday's the one for me. Yeah, Sri Lanka v England is going to be really interesting because, as you mentioned, obviously England beat Sri Lanka 3-0 in the warm-ups in Sri Lanka, and they did so quite handily as well. They looked good, surprisingly so, on some fairly tricky pitches. They did well with the bat, and that was impressive. I think Sri Lanka, obviously, they're missing Patirana, and they brought in Dilsan Madashankar as cover. But I wonder for Sri Lanka whether that actually might, in a bizarre sort of way, help them. Because they had Patirana sort of bowling in the power play, which it's not really how he's generally used or should be used. I think he's, you want him when the fields are back and when he's able to take the pace, like vary the pace and throw those Yorkers in. So maybe that will give them a bit more of an opportunity to make the most of the conditions with the new ball, and that might actually make their bowling lineup fit together a bit better. But it's England will be looking internally at their performances, and Sri Lanka will be on a roll, looking to kick on. And I think also crucially, England are going from India to Sri Lanka in some different conditions. Right, they've been dealing with fairly bouncy wickets at the Wankhede and in Kolkata, and Sri Lanka are playing at the same place that they just dispatched Australia. So that could factor in. And it does feel like the kind of thing that happens, doesn't it? You do a 3-match bilateral warm-up, you win it 3-0, then you get to when it actually matters, and it all flips on its head. So I'm really, really interested to see how that one goes. And then India, South Africa, obviously it's a repeat of the final last time. It's the probably 2 best teams in the tournament so far. So that will be good.
Yeah. We have one question, and we'll end on this. Will India go undefeated in this tournament?
Will they win it?
Super chat from Andy saying India look much less than the sum of their parts.
India are going to beat South Africa on Sunday, and then they're going to face South Africa again in the final, and then they're going to lose.
Oh, that's a big claim. That's a big claim. I think in terms of cricket narrative, that would be the funnest journey. like India to go undefeated, then lose in the final to the people that they probably should have lost to in the last World Cup had South Africa not done a South Africa. South Africa don't choke now. They won the World
double
Test
super
Championship.
over.
Yeah, they've won a double super over. This is different beast. So I think India to take them down comfortably and then choke when it's all on the line for the second time in a home World Cup. That would be high drama. Thanks very much for listening and watching, everyone. We're going to wrap up there. As I said, be back Sunday with the beginning of the Super 8s as we say goodbye to a lot of worthy cricket teams and look forward to some high stakes second group stage drama. Goodbye.